And I forgot to tell you that the Hooray doll that I showed you a moment ago, standing in the middle of furniture, comes, the only one I've ever seen, in her original box with a Hooray label on the box. Pretty extraordinary. In this auction, we also have a wonderful collection of original French costumes of the time period for poupées. But even rarer to find, and I have a small selection of it here, is a vast selection of accessories for your French dolls. And I wanted to read you something. When I did this book, A Fully Perfected Grace, years ago, I had done some research on the development of the doll fashion industry. And in it, I wrote this: the costume was valued as much or even more than the doll itself, as verified by prices in doll catalogs. More importantly, the costume could be removed and placed by another. This was a big thing. Up until this time, the doll costumes had been made pinned onto the dolls. To be able to have a costume removed from the doll, what do you think this did? It opened up a whole new industry, because now you could sell costumes that would be worth almost as much as the doll itself. Over and over again, you had a repetitive market for the doll. No longer was the doll to be dressed dependent upon the original doll maker alone. In exclusive shops, children could choose from doll costume designers who surely moved in and out of favor, just like real-life costume designers. I'm going to show you one costume of that in just a moment from Mademoiselle Barrault. But here's some of the things that were advertised in the shop au Bengali about 1865. Shoes, this is a quote, shoes, high-heeled shoes, ankle boots, impressive quantities of fabric and woolens, jewelry sets, earrings, rings, crosses, shawls, miniature books, letter paper, small missiles, envelopes, belts, purses with handles, small wallets, fans in wood and ivory, doll gloves, hats, blouses, slips, trousers, aprons, handkerchiefs, over and over again. And there were certain firms that specialized. For example, there were firms that specialized in doll jewelry. There were firms that specialized in doll shoes. Sometimes they began as a people-making firm, making items for people, and then they might even have started by making a little promotional piece in miniature, and then they found, gee, a lot of people like that. So then they started making them for dolls itself. Some people actually ended up branching off into simply making doll costumes and jewelry and accessories, and other people continued to do them as an adjunct. But here's just a sample of some wonderful pieces that we have. I think enough research has not been done. Is that right? There has not been enough research done on the history of the Paisleys in France during this time period. It was major. And this is a wonderful Paisley shawl that is being offered in its original box, which is very much like a Hooray box, although unmarked. And it has the actual embroidered mark of its original maker on it. Very, very fine early Paisley shawl for a woman. And this is another use of the Paisley at that time, is the Paisley actually wrapped, this was a blanket Paisley, and actually wrapped in its original leather harness or carrying piece. You could carry it right by the little handle there. Whatever was made for a human at that time was also made for a doll. There was no question of it. There were so many people who wrote books about this. If it could be people-sized, it could be doll-sized, and that it was made, and companies flourished. Here's a wonderful little hat box, Modes de Paris, and it opens to this dainty, dainty snood, or a ribbon frame snood. Look at the pink rose ribbons, the wonderful lace in the back. That's a very, very exceptional and beautifully preserved headpiece. And I love the box itself, Modes de Paris. Here's another little snood. This is an example of the hundreds of pieces we have in that auction. Embroidered tulle with the blue silk ribbon banding. Here's a wonderful little reticule, and this is just dandy because this is the ring for holding onto for looping onto your belt. And then it has the two little closing tassels, and they're of this fine filigree gilt metal. And the reticule itself is of a tulle with little embroidered gilt beading on it. Very, very fine. Here's another wonderful hat in its own hat box. And here is the hat itself. Tiny, tiny little hat. If you wanted to wear gloves, and everyone did, there were so many gloves offered. This is a wonderful pair of elbow-length red kid gloves. And then in this smaller box, no, that's not it. Let me see. That's not it. Somewhere here. Well, here's a pair of wrist-length brown kidskin gloves. And I thought I had brought another pair out. Yes, and then here's another pair in the box with the original label of kidskin gloves with the little button ties at the wrist. I love these little miniature pieces. They're just so great. Here's another wonderful hat. You can see the inside. And faintly on the cover, what do you find? Hooray à Paris. So the original Hooray stamp on the label of this little hat box. Let's see what else we have. Oh, here's another pair of gloves. The white gloves, white kid cream. When you can look at these up close and see the extraordinary stitching that is done on them, that's really, really remarkable. What is in here? Oh, this was really great. It's, I'm not sure what it is, to tell you the truth. It's a little clasp, a closure clasp in its original box. And it's in the original label on the box. You know I love soutache. You can never have enough. Here are two examples of white piqué, one a waffle weave and one a vertical weave, little caps, and they both have the most wonderfully embroidered soutache embroidery on them. This is an intriguing lorgnette because it has blue and green. So I don't know what the purpose of that was. So you could see things, I don't know, maybe you disguise yourself, but it was all original and very, very unique. We have, for riding ensembles, you have the riding crop, bone-handled riding crop, and for the ball, here, let me put it back in again, it just rests right in there. We have the wonderful hand-painted fan. This is an extraordinary piece. It's like a little belt or a necklace, and it's made out of hand-woven hair, like hair jewelry at the time that was being made, with an incredible gold or gilded clasp at the front. Very, very exceptional, like a memorial or memento piece. Little tiny reticule embroidered all the way around. One of so many fans that are in this collection. This one in its original box. I know you'd love to handle all of these yourself, wouldn't you? I'm just lucky. Menagerie, which is like a little, probably a dance card, although someone years ago wrote in here, pour ma poupée, Eloise, so written for her doll, a little note paper, little notes to her doll. I love this. This is the outside. And then it opens to reveal the perfume bottle in its own fitted velvet lining. It's beautiful. And to wear on your belt and carry your little perfumery. the little velvet-covered book-shaped box, which opens to reveal an opera glasses and various brushes. 2 different leather handbags. What is in here? Oh, this is wonderful. I'm not going to try to take it out. Tiny, tiny, tiny little coin purse with the loop to attach to your belt. And a fabulous, I don't know if it's gold, but it certainly looks like it, but I won't say that it is. Gold finish, certainly. And what is this? Oh, the gloves we looked at already. And this, oh, here's a wonderful little metal basket with the sewing utensils inside. And finally here, I have to show you this little wonderful mother of pearl with wonderful iridescent, a little egg-shaped, sort of egg-shaped, and then you lift the lid and inside, look at that. So you can see these things next to my hand so you can actually tell how tiny all of these pieces are. Made to display with your French fashions or small poupées, or small bébés rather. Just wonderful, wonderful pieces. And then finally, I want to show you a few other pieces. Well, let me bring this over and show it up to the camera so you can see there are dozens of antique shoes in this auction, and I brought a few of them out for you to see. Can you catch that? This blue pair, it's always nice to see their undersoles because then you can see the quality of them so much more. This is a great pair right here. And I always love the tapestry or hand-woven slippers, and they have the most wonderful cobbled leather and wooden soles and heels. But these are just, I wouldn't want a pair of those myself. Those are pretty nice. And I brought this to show you because you know, there's a thing I've always wanted to write an article about. What were they thinking? Okay, ice skates for dolls. What were they thinking? Not a smart idea. But I want to hold one of these up so you can see how unusually this was. I mean, this is an incredible piece with it. Look at how it curves up at the front and the single blade underneath. If you knew the history of ice skates, you'd probably find this was a very rare style. You could probably pinpoint it exactly in time. So some of the dozens of wonderful shoes in this auction. So there's so many, again, wonderful costumes in this auction, but I wanted to bring this one out to show you because it is just extraordinary with all of the hand needlework on it. The wonderful jacket and the skirt underneath, perfectly preserved, absolutely wonderful. And wait for it, wait for the surprise. Here it is in its original box from Mademoiselle Barrault, who made costumes for the Theriault doll and are so cherished. They're just fabulous workmanship. So this is one of the leader costume pieces in this auction, a very cherished one.